you know, headed into the the northwest to see what could be found, and discovered an oil slick floating on the surface, which was a good indicator that that the plane had indeed crashed. And so when he returned, gave orders for the Avocet to get underway. They'd been getting up steam all afternoon and left about 7 that evening. Sailed out through the south-facing harbor at Pongo Pongo, and sailed around the western end, and arriving in darkness as sometime a little shortly past midnight. They were on station and just sort of steamed back and forth north and south, waiting for the sun to come up, which it did. At on that day it would have been at 6:04, 6:06. The ship's log records that they have sighted the oil slick. And then just about 30 minutes later, they spot debris floating in the water and launch the ship's boat and start recovering those items that are known to definitively to have come from Samoan Clipper. So they knew they were on the spot. They knew that the plane had been lost, and from the items that they were pulling up, some of them displayed some charring, some signs of exposure to flame and heat, and they knew that the plane had caught fire and crashed. And over the the succeeding days, they continued to search, continued to look for other traces, and interview people along the coast, and found one eyewitness who had been a woman who had been in a boat traveling from Fangasa Bay to Asu when the plane flew directly overhead, crossing the mouth of Fangasa Bay, headed in the direction of Apia, which is west, and then observed it to make a long turn out to sea, and then dive for the water. And there was a flash and a sound of a detonation, and then a great deal of black smoke, and the sight of the wings at the surface, and then disappearing from sight. After floating for about 5 minutes. So they had all the all of the puzzle pieces that they needed to for the investigators to determine well, at least what had happened. They knew that the plane had caught fire in the process of dumping fuel, and had they surmised that from what the description that the witness gave, and the type of debris that they were finding, that Music had detected the problem, had initiated and perhaps even almost completed an emergency landing, and when they were overwhelmed, and so that the plane was destroyed and at relatively low speed and low altitude, but not enough, not in time to save the crew. And there was a strong desire to try and retrieve the wreck and the bodies of the crew. And there's a lot of message traffic back and forth, trying to think of what any idea that would accomplish that. Could they send divers? Could they drag for the wreck with grappling hooks? And none of that was possible. It was just too far out of reach. So they knew they were close. They knew they were right there, and it was just out of reach, for them. And so now today, aided with that all that information that they gathered in that effort, 81 years ago, we're able to follow in their footsteps and try to collect that last piece of the puzzle. And it certainly is within reach of the technology that we have. Argus is now 3,000 plus 3,200 meters below us, scanning the seabed. So it is in reach, but it is not in sight. And so we're sharing right now. We're sharing some of their frustration as well of knowing that we have to be close. It has to be here nearby. And so we're going to continue with as much time as we have remaining to us to scan and see if we can't, complete those last steps and write that final chapter.
And we've had a few folks, so much of that is based on the, like you mentioned earlier as well, like these historical documents and reports. And a lot of people are asking, in case it's not found, and if we don't find the Simone Clipper, are there sort of plans for finding a future dive site?
If I have anything to say about it, we will be back. Yeah, we're not giving up on this. So, of course, we're not giving up right now. We are going to search for every second available to us. But believe me when I say that we've thought about this too, and are not about to give up on Samoan Clipper and its crew. So, we will find a way. And we know, again, I mean, it has to be here. Like there's no uncertainty about that. We know this is the spot, this is the area. It's just a matter of being able to cover the ground and puzzle out, the variables that are still unknowns to us. I mean, there was an exhaustive amount of research done and information pulled together from a lot of different sources by a lot of dedicated people, and so we have an enormous advantage in that regard, and that we can be certain that it took place here at on the northwest coast of Tutuila. So, and it can't be, it can't be very far away. So it is here somewhere, and we're making the most of the really sophisticated tools and assets and the great expertise of the people and the crew that we have here in this spot, and we're able to conduct a very thorough investigation of the highest priority, highest probability areas. But there are still unknowns that could have affected what happened and where ultimately the wreck ended up. All those observations from the people 81 years ago are based on what they were seeing on the surface and what they were finding on the surface, and even though it was shortly after the accident, it still mostly arrived on the scene, with a few hours after it had happened, or the following day. So, what forces were at work, in the meantime, is unknowable, and it's the only way that we will puzzle it out is to just continue searching and expanding that search. And it just may be that at this time it could be just out of the range of our ability to reach it this time, and we want to be methodical. We want to be make sure that we've covered those high probability areas, and be sure that we've seen everything that's there and haven't missed it, so that we can plan better for the future and in confidence in the future, that if that we know where it isn't. So, and we know that it has to be close. So, we've got a lot of really talented and knowledgeable and experienced people working on this, and who have really taken it to their hearts, and no one here likes the idea of having unfinished business. So, if that's the case for this stage of the search, where and this part of the exploration, where and that is part of the nature of it, is just going out into the unknown, and coming back with new information, and which is exactly what we've done. We've collected an enormous amount of information, and and shared this story and spread it further than it has been in 81 years, and hopefully enlisted new people and new support into the search, and that will help us as we continue to explore and continue to refine our knowledge, and find the way to ultimately bring the search for Simone Clipper to a successful and well deserved conclusion.
John Hill said it earlier, and actually just about 2 minutes before he said this, a viewer also wrote in, and I know that we've drawn similar parallels in the last few days, just in terms of the work that we're sort of doing and the work that Pan Am at the time and the Simone Clipper did, just in sort of utilizing this to the best capabilities possible, technology and exploration, and sort of pushing those boundaries, and providing reliable communication and navigation technologies. And it seems fitting that, here we are broadcasting this out to the world and sharing the story additionally of people who sort of did the same thing. And we've also mentioned that even if it's not found in this expedition, we know where it's not, and Jim Delgado also said that as well, and I think it's a really good window into exploration, that you don't just drop an ROV down and find what you're looking for. It's a pretty big ocean, and it's a deep ocean, and in fact we have explored more of the surface of Mars than we had our own waters. I think it's somewhere around 95% of the world's oceans are still left unexplored, and that number jumps up to around 99% when we're operating at depths that we are currently at, which is around 3,000 meters. So it's an important reminder that this is what exploration is about, sort of this behind-the-scenes work, this patience and determination and perseverance. For those of you that are excited about it, there are plenty of resources at nautiluslive.org. There's a blog post that goes into a little bit more detail, and it also has some photos of the Simone Clipper and of Ed Musick. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll also see some links to Pan Am Historical Foundation and a blog post that Russ has been updating. And additionally, there are also newspaper clippings and photos of those as well. So if you're interested in sort of the newspaper side of things, yes, there is a short update from the Stanford Daily. The New York Times also briefly covered it. Most of the coverage was done by San Francisco Examiner and San Francisco Chronicle. The Examiner has some great online archives that you can access for, I believe it's newspapers.com. The New Zealand, yes, yeah, that's the one. And the New Zealand Herald also covered it quite a bit. So Musick and his crew had quite the influence in New Zealand. There's also a historical foundation called Musick Point Radio, musicpointradio.org, and they have some great resources as well. So if you are curious and sort of learning more, I encourage you to expand beyond the Wikipedia page, because it is pretty short. There are a lot of people that have spent a lot of time in pulling all of these resources and historical archives and documents together to tell the greater story. And also, to tell the story, it's important to remember that we have a whole crew working in the control van, especially our ROV team, Alyssa and Trevor. And this question has come up.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Good to hear your voices. This question has come up a couple of times, and some folks want to know, why are we just using a side scan sonar and a video on Argus? Why aren't we utilizing other tools like maybe a magnetometer? Magnetometer?
Magnetometer.
Thank you. My eyes and my voice are beginning to fade. Yeah, so why not use something like that?
First, using Argus sort of as a tow sled allows us to do this lawnmower pattern, which helps us
cover a larger area than if we were using just Hercules alone. But also something like a magnetometer wouldn't really be the best application since one, Argus is also made of metal, so we have to try and isolate that. And also they can mess with some of the other sensors due to, or other electronics can mess with the magnetometer as well. So there's an interference issue usually.
And I would add to that that there's not a great deal of ferrous metal on board Samoan Clipper. It was made, primarily of aluminum. I mean, there was some steel in the engines, but other than that, there would not be much of a signature. And as on top of that, I'm led to understand that volcanic rock can also interfere and mask, magnetic signatures. And there's a great deal of volcanic rock right in the area where we're looking.
That's right. We are looking in an area of the world known as the Samoan hotspot. So it is a volcanically active region, and it's similar to sort of the formation of the Hawaii island chains as well. So those rocks that we've been seeing on the bottom of the ocean are basalt and carbonate. So both volcanic in nature. Of course, we've been seeing the fudge lava as well, the technical term. So it is as well, we're looking for the Samoan Clipper, but there are geological features that we've been tracking and keeping count of. We've also been logging any sort of marine life as we see them. So we're getting eyes on parts of the planet that no humans have ever seen before. So all in all, I'd say it's a pretty good trip. And of course, there are a number of other logistics too behind putting together an expedition. Not just the research, but it's pretty time-consuming and expensive, right, to pull together an expedition.
Yes, I can attest
The
to
short
that
answer.
as well. Yes.
Yeah.
Things cost what they cost, and they're priced that way for a reason. And actually, I think what you get with everything that you get with Nautilus is actually quite a bargain. Given the high level of expertise and technology and everything that's available. And we were actually just very fortunate in this circumstance, the fact that Nautilus was going to be here anyway, that they had missions within the Samoan group. So at Air-Sea Heritage Foundation, we were able to kind of jump on board and arrange for this expedition in partnership with Ocean Exploration Trust. That with the ship already based, essentially 14 miles from the spot where we needed it to be, which is almost unheard of. That kind of opportunity. Usually mounting a project like this in such a remote part of the world. Most of your resources and effort go into just putting together, the logistics that you need. If you were starting from scratch, what you'd charter a vessel out of probably Honolulu, and then have to, import all of the search tools that you needed, with all of their associated, crews, and then there's just what's known as transit time, just getting where you need to go, and the meter is running the whole time. And Hawaii is probably at least a week, by sea from here. So you want to search for a week? Well, you're going to be steaming there and back for 2 weeks. So your budget is at least tripled, to do that kind of work. And so then to have the opportunity where, in the words of our captain, the most famous exploration vessel in the world is parked just 14 miles from where you need it, with the best technology and the best and most experienced and most talented crew already on board, is a you know, a fantastic opportunity, one that could not let go. So so we jumped on board to join with the Ocean Exploration Trust to do this mission now.
Absolutely. And this mission is a little bit unique just in terms of how it's set up. So we've set a brand new record of how long Argus has been in the water. What are we at now? Many hours? Over 100 at least, right? Ish. I'm gonna go with over 100.
I ran out of fingers. I don't know.
Yeah, I think from last night we were told the previous record I think was 74 hours. Yes,
Okay,
he's
yeah.
nodding his head.
Wow.
So we have shattered that record, and we are, we're setting a new record every second. And I think that speaks to the level of commitment to this project on behalf of this crew and Ocean Exploration Trust, that they are willing to push beyond, far beyond anything they've done before in a already remarkable, 10-year, 11-year history, to be pushing this hard, to solve this mystery and bring back the answers. So we really are at Air Sea Heritage Foundation. We are very grateful, to be part of this and to be partners with the Ocean Exploration Trust, and to have such dedicated and I'm speechless now. Yes, I think it's been a really a tremendous honor to be here together.
Yeah, I would second that. Absolutely. There's a question: would it be possible to cover ground more quickly without towing Argus? I'm sure it would be possible to go faster, but we sort of need Argus, right, to in order to.
Well, we do. I mean, Nautilus is equipped with a very sophisticated what's known as a multi-beam sonar that is hull mounted, and I'm sure we can get the specifics on that particular system, but the long and the short of it is that from the surface, and we are 3,200 meters above the sea floor right now, and just simply doesn't have the resolution from that range, from 2 miles away. It just cannot get the level of detail that we need to spot, to pick out not only an airplane but probably airplane parts that are strewn across a what we now know to be a very in some areas very kind of rocky and bottom with a lot of relief to it. So we need to get down low in order to get sufficient resolution to identify those kind of parts. And the only way that's possible to do that is to tow Argus at the end of this enormous steel cable tether and tow it at, right now it's about 16 meters above the seabed, and following along the contours. The Argus pilot is keeping an eye on the bathymetry and making sure that to move the vehicle up and down to follow the contours of the bottom and to keep us in close contact, so that we can image the size of object that we need to. From the surface, basically we would run over a fleet of aircraft carriers without spotting them. So this is the way it has to be done. Given the tools that we have.
Dee Dee and I went into a little bit of a side scan sonar wormhole last night. It gets exciting here late at night. And it's pretty incredible. Doing a Google search, you can see, I think, what did we look? Aircraft side scan sonar. And you could see, at the bottom of the ocean, fully intact aircrafts that had been discovered in one way or another by sonar. And it was interesting, right? Because we keep, at least I keep thinking we're going to come across an aircraft, but it's very possible that the plane will actually be in several different pieces. And so that makes it a little bit more intricate in how we're searching. I mean, we're looking for multiple pieces, probably this debris field, not one nicely parked airplane.
No, we know for certain that the airplane suffered an in-flight fire and an explosion, so it's certainly going to be in you know, at least several large pieces. You know, and that was the supposition at the time, again, because the airplane had gone in at fairly low altitude and low speed, so there wasn't that kind of you know, shattering effect of a plane you know, diving in uncontrolled manner, like, you know, straight into the water, or one that had they didn't feel that it had, you know, exploded at height and then spread across the ocean, because they were only finding, you know, smaller pieces and components from that were confined to a couple of compartments, the auxiliary fuel compartment, compartment D, and then the navigator's station just forward of that, and perhaps the compartment C just aft of the fuel tanks. But so it certainly seems that there was an explosion in that section, and would have compromised the keel and the hull of the aircraft, and so imagine that it would at least have separated off the tail and the nose of the cockpit section, and the wings were actually described by the eyewitness as floating at the surface. So for a time before they sank, and so those seem to be the that's what we've had in mind as our likely, you know, biggest target. It was a all metal wing structure that's 118 feet 2 inches in wingspan, and then 13 feet across, with very likely the four you know, Pratt & Whitney Hornet engines, radial engines on its leading edge, with these Hamilton standard propellers with the 11-foot propeller arc. So that's our you know, in our mind, the most you know, likely target for us to you know, detect first, because it would be a very distinct, very long and straight edged, and with you know, right angles, and very likely a stronger return signal. You know, given that it's made of metal, that the aluminum would reflect back the sound waves to Argus. You know, more in a more prominent way than would come from just the typical sand and mud bottom, or the rocks surrounding it. So.
Sam, we also, your tours were so well received. Would you mind if and we also have a couple of questions coming in about Argus and sort of cabling and tethering and all of those ROV-ish things that I don't know. Could we do a little tour of the facilities?
I'd be happy to. ROV team?
Let's go.
Okay, let's do it.
Ready.
So if you're in the quad channel, this will be in channel 3, bottom left. Where do we want to start? Do we want to start from Argus going back up the cable onto the ship, or do we want to start from the ship going down to Argus?
Maybe Argus up. That's the opposite of what we did last time.
Perfect.
Sure. Yeah.
So we'll start with Argus. So in channel 3, to get the whole picture. Who wants to talk about the Zeus camera?
I can talk about the Zeus camera.
And maybe I'll do some zooming in and out.
Wow, look at you go.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, the Zeus camera is a full HD camera.
Zooming in.
Put in a 6,000 meter rated pressure housing with an optically corrected dome, I think that's the term, which makes it look like it starting again. When you have like a snorkel or whatever goggles on underwater, you know how everything looks kind of big? This dome is shaped in such a way that it kind of cancels out for that refraction of light, and kind of takes away the refraction action of the water. So it looks like you're looking through air and allows us to image stuff really well. It's a Ikegami camera with a Fujinon lens and separate controllers for each. And that's piped out through fiber optics.
What do you mean separate controllers for each?
Well, I'd have to consult the video engineer on watch to get more information on that one.
That is a great question for an actual video engineer.
Roger.
Separate controllers. Oh, you mean the ones in front of me?
I
Right.
do mean that.
Okay. I can actually switch to the cam side. And so switching over to the control van. So here's the front row with Argus pilot Alyssa waving her hand. Hercules pilot Trevor's next to her, and the nav to the right, Miles. So Alyssa here on the left has winch control to her left hand there. So she's
Really
actually
getting that zoom
controlling the
down.
up and down of Argus. Yep, and I'm sitting here, hello, in the video engineering seat. And if I can zoom in all the way,
You have no head.
I have no head, but that's okay.
Oh, now you
too
do.
far. Okay, so right here, there are controllers for the Argus cameras with a little joystick. Oh, there we go. Joystick for zooming in and zooming wide. And then our focus bar here. And then this is another little panel that adjusts all the levels for the Argus camera. And then right next to it is, zoom out here. Oh, zoom in, zoom out. Here's the Hercules camera toggles as well with the same kind of panel. And then we have our audio, 2 audio panels. And then I have a little joystick here for all of the RoboCams. So you can kind of click into one of the RoboCams and then move around. Thanks, Trevor. That is an auxiliary light. So that's where we're monitoring the feeds. So including the Argus feed that you just saw, and then there are a bunch of other cameras around Argus that I'm going to switch to right now. So here's one that's actually underneath Argus.
Yeah, that's the utility camera, and it allows us to see oil pressures of the various compensated systems. It allows us to see the position of the 360 scanning sonar, as well as the position of the Zeus camera, which we were just talking about.
Awesome. And the sonar there is not the sonar we are currently using, correct?
It is not the side scan sonar, but it is still in use for navigation purposes.
Sam, are we streaming the van camera right now?
No, we're not.
Okay.
Would you like to be streamed?
No.
Nope.
Just asking.
Yeah. So let's see. Next up for Argus is the aptly named Argus butt cam.
Butt cam. That is looking backwards in Argus. It's the backup camera, but we don't do much backing up. Usually that black spot on the right side of the camera is not there. That's the fin we've installed to keep it tracking straight for the side scan operations. Usually it's not there, and usually the tether comes out the back. So having butt cam allows us to see the tether and see how it's behaving, and allow us to do tether management, as well as for ascent and descent. When the vehicles are facing away from each other, we have a good view of Herc from that view, as well as there's an equivalent one on Hercules that we can see Argus with. Keep them all lined up and straight and square.
Awesome. So Alyssa, when you're driving Argus, how many cameras are you monitoring at once? Or how many monitors, I should say?
Just a few.
Okay.
So first I have a screen that tells me the height above the seafloor we are, so that I'm trying to keep around 15 meters. This also has some troubleshooting things such as voltages, temperatures, leak detectors, so we can monitor Argus from up here. It also gives heading, so I can control the thrust to change direction. I also have HiPAC, which is the navigation software you typically see, which is on the left-hand side. I think you're seeing right now.
Yes, just a bit.
So that shows the track of Argus, the green line, and also the track of the ship. So making sure we're staying on course. I also have the video stream that you guys are seeing. This helps with some navigation, and also that sonar we just mentioned, which helps with obstacles coming up into view.
Look at that, you can see the sonar on the right side of the screen there. Looks like a rainbow, blue rainbow.
Perfect. And there are some other cameras there that you can see that are monitoring other spaces on the ship, including the winch. So let's go to the back deck and connect those dots. Oop, we're a little high
Whoop.
there.
Whoop. What about wire cam?
Oop.
Wire cam.
Oh, wire cam first, sorry. So there's the back deck for context, but and you can see there the A-frame with the cable coming down into the water. And
The weather's a lot nicer than it has been as well. You can actually see some sky out there.
Yeah, and in the distance you can see the island of Tutuila, which is the main island of American Samoa, and the tip of land there, right in the center of the screen, right above the A-frame, is Tapu Tapu Point, which was always the main landmark that was given in terms of the relative position for the loss of Samoan clipper. So we are right there.
We're right there.
so Argus is down several thousand meters below the surface exploring, and we can monitor that cable that Argus is attached to here. Right, Trevor?
Right, Sam. That's what we can do.
Tell us more.
That's used, that camera is used to see the angle of the dangle of the 6/8 cable, the main umbilical, and make sure it's not rubbing up against the back of the boat, because that is bad. It could wear out the cable or, in theory, eventually break it.
Excellent. So as we move from subsea up the cable, we come to the back deck. How is this set up, Trevor?
It's set up very well. The wire comes over the big pulley looking thing, which is called the overboarding sheave, and that's actually where we measure our tension of the cable as well. Comes from there across the deck. What camera are we looking at? We're looking at aft cam. Yeah, it comes across the deck, down through the turning sheave, which is another big pulley unit, which Sam is just bringing into view now. Building suspense though. Yeah, there it is.
There we go.
That big framework is to make the cable go down from on deck, down below decks to the winch. The whole winch assembly is under the deck.
Yes, it
which
is.
Now
and
we can see that soon.
Through the magic of cameras, we will go below decks.
Are you putting on future winch or past winch?
Which would you like?
Which winch? Future winch would be good.
Is that winch hold?
That is not.
Nope.
No, well, you could do quad winch. That'd be some quad on quad.
That's too much quad, I think. How about quad winch?
That's what I.
Oh,
that's
sorry.
Yeah, that's good. No, that's good. That's really
Not
good
what I
actually.
meant.
How about
How
not
about
what you
the
said,
other
just
No, this
what
is
you
great.
said.
This is actually this is show all our
Perfect,
different
okay.
or 4 of our 6 views down there.
Perfect.
That's actually really good. So this is
Quad
4 of the 6
inception.
cameras. Yeah, if you look in quad view, you see the quad view. Quad view and quad 3. Yeah, that's good. So 4 of the 6 cameras are shown. So now we can see what's going on in the winch hold. And that is, so the top left one is a view of the, no, you know what? I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to start with the bottom right one. That's the overview.
Okay, we're doing the big one then.
No!
Yeah.
Because I'm going to go back to, you're going to go to,
I'll go back, yeah.
oh boy. Here we go. Okay. Winch hold. This is the overview of everything that's going on down there. So the gray bit on the right, the gray spoolie bit, is the storage drum. That's where we store all the extra cable when it's not in the ocean. And then it goes down through the blue part at the bottom right, or I guess bottom center, is the level wind. That's a sheave that moves back and forth and makes the cable spool on all nice and pretty. And that's not just for aesthetics, but it's also for functionality. So the cables don't get all crossed or tangled or what have you. And then working our way outboard, the cable goes through the spinning parts on the left. You can kind of see one of the traction sheaves there, but there's actually 2 of them, I promise. And they are what provide the tension, provide the friction to not have the whole cable spool out or spool in a hurry. The cable wraps around them 5 times and then goes up through a hole in the ceiling, coming out to the turning shiv we saw earlier.
I'll go back to the quad there.
Quad. So top left is a view of the traction shivs. You see the 5 wraps around there, and that way we can make sure that the cable is in the groove it's supposed to be in and it's not jumped off and in the wrong spot, getting all tangled up. The top right is the view of the storage drum or storage winch, and that allows us to see it spooling properly, nice and pretty, and not crossed over or tangled. The bottom left one is a view of, it looks like 1, but it's actually 5 different cables all in line, and that allows us to monitor the tension across the different shivs of the traction shivs. So we want to make sure the tension's pretty even across all of those, more or less, and if it's not, we might see some drooping in the middle. A little bit of drooping is no big deal. It's not a problem, it's standard, but if it droops a lot, that can be a cause for concern. And that way we can catch it before it's a problem.
Cool. And connecting all the dots, we're going to go back to the control van where you can see Alyssa at the winch controls. So here we go down.
That's the other one.
Stand by. Oh, that's because I have it not on. There we go. Whoop, too far. Okay. So there's Trevor lighting up the winch control. And if Alyssa scoots to her right just a little bit, there's her arm. If Alyssa scoots to the right just a little bit, yep, other right, there we go. You can see the winch control there. Oh, very nice, thank you, yes. With a readout there. So Alyssa, what are you looking at here?
So there's a couple numbers on here. We have the speed that the winch is paying out the cable in meters per minute. We also have tension in pounds, so we know how much tension the cable has. If it's rated for a certain safety factor, a number of pounds, so we don't want to exceed that. And also it gives us our payout of how many meters is currently out there.
What is that stand it's on, that plastic thing?
I think that's a milk crate.
You bet it is.
All right, zooming back out here, connecting the dots. Did we get all the pieces there of that Argus puzzle?
I believe so.
That's all there is.
Right.
That's all you need to have your own Argus. Step 1, have Argus. Step 2, have the cable and winch and ship. Step 3, have control van and people.
Easy.
That's all it takes.
All you need to have your very own Argus.
Thanks for that, guys. Very informative tour.
Happy to help. Oh, we've also got a special guest in the van. Let's see if we can see him. This is a Justin Lowe, Director of Data Engineering on board Nautilus, and currently, oh,
nope, oh, there it is.
Just a little bit of sand. Responsible for all of the data coming out of all of these different vehicles and feeds and sensors, making sure that all that data ends up accessible and in an archive for researchers to continue to use. Welcome, Justin.
Welcome, Justin. So, Alyssa, we saw you operating your little joystick thing over there, the technical term. How do you keep it from running into geological features? I mean, what are you monitoring exactly that you know you're able to sort of determine what the altitude is and how to avoid things that might be down there?
But for obstacles, that downward-facing sonar is really helpful. That's telling me of anything approaching, so I can sort of see things before they get to me. And then the altimeter is pointing straight down, and that's giving me the distance from the seafloor as well.
So you're monitoring sort of all of these things in real time.
Yes.
And then flying
and
an
making
ROV.
a judgment based on multiple things.
Yeah, that's a lot going on.
A few things.
Yeah.
Multitasking.
Yeah. So Alyssa is sort of the unofficial ROV expert. So she's getting her PhD.
Yes, in autonomous vehicles, ocean engineering at the University of New Hampshire.
And you are currently our ROV intern, right?
Yes.
All right. Very cool. So
Hey, Maddie.
Yo.
Did we ever find out what town in BC that was?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Now.
Was it Vesuvius?
Sorry?
Was it nope. Okay.
Nope, that wasn't it. It was KL. I'm seeing a K and an L and a W and an A and an N.
Kilwan.
I can't, is that what it is?
No.
I'm not sure
I'm
of
just
the
saying
order.
the letters.
My psychic abilities are failing me now. Hold on, I'll find it.
All right.
But it was actually west of Spokane.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, oh. I
Mhm.
thought you were saying east of
I
Spokane.
was not.
Mwah.
Kelowna.
Kelowna, yep. Yep, so
It
we
seemed,
have,
oh, that's because the map was squished, right? It seemed
Yeah.
right against the state's border.
Yeah.
But it's because the map was squished.
Yeah,
That's one of the larger cities, aside from Vancouver or Vancouver Island, in the province of BC.
Yep, so we were looking at our world map last night, if you guys weren't here, and we get to see all of the amazing countries that tune into our live stream. Right now we have Canada, UK, Germany, Netherlands, Turkey, New Zealand, Norway, Finland, Brazil, Barbados, Austria, and we have the United States from Hawaii and Alaska. It looks like maybe Southeast Alaska even. Hold on. Do I see... It's hard to tell if that's Southeast Alaska or British Columbia. Trevor and I will have to duke it out. We
They
also
show international borders, don't they?
Yes, I think it's Canada. It's like the island just south of Baranof Island. We have viewers all up and down the West Coast, so from Seattle to the San Francisco Bay Area to Southern California, throughout the Midwest, down into Texas, near the Great Lakes, up and down the coast of Florida, and then heading north and east, we've got, looks like Virginia to DC to Massachusetts and New Hampshire. So all over the place. So we were playing a game trying to figure out what cities each of these little maps are. Oh, and then a little, what's that? What island is that? I don't even know. Yeah. How are you with maps, Dee Dee? Oh yeah, come check it out. Yeah. So we have country borders, but no state borders. So it's been a fun game to sort of, try and see who is where. So if I didn't call your city, feel free to chime in and let me know where you're at. We also just had Estonia join. I haven't seen that part of the world light up yet, so welcome, welcome. Moving over to Europe, we have a lot of the Scandinavian states up north. East to west in Germany, we've got the UK, a good representation there. Hello, Turkey. It's pretty exciting. We've got, hey Trevor, we have someone from Edmonton.
Edmonton, the capital of Alberta.
Yeah, there you go. Kelowna, yep, that's the town in Canada we were trying to remember.
I just looked earlier where in
I
Turkey
lived there for 2 weeks.
where in Turkey people were listening to.
Never been to the mall.
Now I'm almost
Big old mall.
certain that that's my mom.
Hey, hey Suna's mom. I have a couple of spots where I think I know some of my folks are listening from. So if that's you, feel free to let us know. We've also got Oregon here. Where are you based, Dee Dee?
Key Largo, Florida.
Was that Tampa Bay right there?
No. Oh, well, yeah.
That's Tampa. Looks like we have Tampa in. Tampa area.
What is the green dot versus the red dot?
Wow.
We've also, all right, cool. So it's coming in. Hello, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Toronto, New Haven, Connecticut, Oceanside, California. Hiya. Denison, Texas. Yep. And we've got quite a few lights up in Oregon as well. I am currently based in San Francisco, so I'm looking at the map there. And it looks like, let's see. We've got some folks on the peninsula in the Bay Area. looks like someone or a couple folks directly downtown San Francisco and then up north into Marin as well. Stretching east, maybe, I don't know. Sacramento.
This is Carmel.
Carmel, yeah.
South of Monterey Bay. San Jose, perhaps. Oh no, Palo Alto. Did you already say that one?
Nope, I didn't.
Yeah, that one there, maybe.
Oh yeah, that's probably it. That's where you're from, right, Sam?
Yeah, back inland from Monterey, yeah.
Let's see. All right, we have Athens, Georgia, and Portland, Oregon as well. Hey, my sister lives in Portland. Yeah, it's cool to see everybody kind of where they're from and where they're watching from.
A lot of Southern California, San Diego, LA area.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oops. And then we have, I think that's Anchorage, Alaska. Let's see as well. We have some lights in Hawaii. My Hawaii geography is not up to par. Palm City, Florida. Hello, hello. All right, Trevor, I have another one for you.
Hit
and
me.
Alyssa, too, if you want to chime in here. What
Sure.
are the hardest and easiest places that you have operated an ROV in?
You want to go first or second?
Oh, you're talking to me. This is really my first experience, so I can't really say either.
So this
So
is both.
or both, yeah.
Or both, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think
Hard-
AUV counts though, or
Yeah.
other.
Yeah, so that's
V?
mostly in like testing areas where you have going areas.
What are some of the factors that make it an easier fly and a more difficult fly? Is that the technical term? for
Sure.
Fly.
Yeah, swim, fly.
Flight, swim.
I guess if you sort of know the area beforehand versus like unexplored areas, which we're looking at, just to have some map of an area before you get there. Like even here we have the bathymetry from the Okeanos Explorer from a couple years ago. Even just having that base map is nice to have.
So that's in the lower left quad of your screen. If you're on the quad screen, that's HIPAC. So that is what Alyssa is talking about. You can see the bathymetry in that chart. And then also it's the green lines now, right? Is that what Argus is?
Correct.
Okay, cool. So you can see the lines that we've been mowing here, and then our ship. And then that bright green coloring is Argus. And so we're making our way through line 29 at the moment. All right, Trevor, to you.
The hardest?
Yes.
I think as far as just ROV piloting goes, excluding difficulty of nav or other ops, I think that would be, or I'm debating between a couple. Okay, I think I would say I was in the Arctic and we were diving on, they called them an ice island. So instead of a broken off piece of glacier, it was a broken off piece of ice cap. So it was a mega flat, huge thing, miles across. And yeah, we had to go up to it and then underneath it, which was exceptionally difficult. You couldn't stay close to the ship at all. You had to go way far away from it. And you were looking at hazards above you the whole time. There was nothing below you. We were not near the seafloor at all. But we were trying to go down this ice wall and then curving around underneath it and stretching out the tether as far as we possibly could. It was a different system. Instead of 30 meters between the clump weight and the vehicle, we had a TMS, or a cage, tether management system cage, and we could stretch out a couple hundred meters. But there was no navigation because we were under this big ice island. There was no understanding of what's going to be there because there's no charts of underneath ice islands. And there's a lot of tangly, melty bits. And anyway, never done anything like that before or since.
And this might be the easiest since we don't have Hercules down, huh?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, as we saw in the control van tour, the Hercules pilot is more of a support
I am the Argus
support
co-pilot.
pilot. Yes.
Argus co-pilot.
So
Yeah.
for you, yeah,
I worked the flashlight
you did.
for the tours.
It's a great job.
We also have Nashville, Mooresville, Indiana, Burbank, Culver City, Overland Park, Kansas, excuse me. Cool. All right. Still coming in. Welcome, everyone. All right, so if you're just joining us, a quick update. We are currently mowing over line 29. We finished yesterday that western addition to our original survey area. And then we tracked back over line 11 where our team noticed a slight gap in coverage. So we wanted to just make sure that we were being thorough as possible. And then an earlier watch brought Argus over targets 30 and 31 to get visuals of them. And they were unfortunately just geological features. I shouldn't say just, because any sort of geological feature that we are looking at, right, no human has seen before. So still contributing and still sort of checking the areas that we know the Samoan Clipper is not. And currently it looks like we are flying over a muddy bottom, so you can see that both in the Argus cam to the right. There's no rocks, and it's, you know, looking like blue water. And then to the left, the side scan sonar is also indicating that. So this sort of rusty colored that you're seeing shows that we're looking at an area that has relatively no elevation, as I understand it. Those points, when they do come up, that are the bright yellow, surrounded by sort of darker shadows, those help us see that they are indeed geological features. We've mainly been seeing basalt and carbonate, which are both rocks formed from volcanic activities, because we are in the region known as the Samoa hotspot. So it's a volcanically active area, part of the world. Trevor, do you know where Sycamoose is? Sycamouse?
I don't know if I could point to it on a map, but I've heard of it.
Did I say it right?
Sycamoose.
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 We've also got Sycamoose, British Columbia here.
Hello from here to Sycamoose. The lone bean.
Can we, Sam, could we pull up that aft cam once again, please?
Sure.
All right, so Russ, as you mentioned earlier, we're looking at the islands that make up American Samoa, and to the right, the far right is Tapu Point, right?
Correct.
All right, so that is very significant to the expedition and to figuring out where exactly the Samoan clipper may be